We aren't chatting with elite athletes about wins and losses. We are digging deep to talk about purpose. This is the Hope Sports Podcast, and I'm your host, Olympic gold medalist Laura Wilkinson. This week, our guest is world champion water skier Ryan Dodd. Ryan has 45 pro wins to date, a world record, and 2 world titles. But there was a time when a life-threatening head injury left him wondering if he would ever even compete again. His story is so miraculous, but his attitude and mindset are what really blew me away. So listen up and get ready for a great conversation. Ryan Dodd, welcome to the Hope Sports Podcast. We're so excited to have you on. Welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Let's just get right to it. Now, you started skiing fairly young and not in a very typical location. Can you tell us about how you got started?
Yeah, a little bit of an odd start. I grew up in Canada on a cattle farm, actually. And my dad and grandpa and kind of family used to ski recreationally. And when I was 10 years old, my dad actually built a dam with the tractor in our cow pasture as a sort of reserve or backup for cattle water. And we started skiing. So I skied, all summer on the pond he built and then played hockey on it in the winter. Pretty crazy.
That's awesome. Now, you have a friend, Jarrett, that you started training with when you were pretty young, and you said he was kind of an inspiration from the beginning. I have to tell you, I was reading this article, and I love this quote you said about him. The thing about Jarrett is he works harder than anybody I've ever seen in the sport, but he does it with this carefree joy. Whether he's preparing for a major event or rehabbing an injury that might end most careers, he does it with the energy and enthusiasm of a guy on holiday. Now, what kind of impact has training with a guy like that had on you?
Oh, it's insane. As a kid, every single thing he did, just from the way he kind of carried himself to the way he trained and competed, and his family life was definitely an inspiration, and it guided me heavily. But that kind of point, that one that I pointed out is the hardest. It's sort of it seems for me to be the hardest thing, but it's also when you kind of get in that state where you can. Everything flows and you can be relaxed, but you're also working harder than anybody and performing at a high level in a dangerous sport. Like, then you can carry on a life that's, you can carry on a great family life because you're, and business and you can just be fun to be around. And that's kind of what's always blown me away the most about him. And, and honestly, anyone that stands out to me, if you're working hard, but you're in a bad mood and you're resenting it and you're grumpy and whatever, then, what's the point of that? So
Exactly. Now, I have to ask you about your dad because I'm a mom and I've been a fairly successful athlete too. And now I have a daughter who's fallen in love with my sport. And that makes me nervous. Now, your dad, Bruce, was a world champion water skier. And how did that affect you growing up? Did it inspire you, or was it like a weight and you had to prove something? Tell me about that.
Well, kind of the odd thing is he was never a professional skier. He was always a farmer. He skied for fun in the summer and he competed. But actually, he's a senior world champion. So in the 55 and up, and he just did that I think 5 years ago for the first time. So it was not. It wasn't really that way. I never had. You kind of get what I'm saying? He wasn't actually a professional skier. He was sort of recreational, but in the senior ranks, he's actually excelled the last 10 years. So now he is. The pressure was more with how successful, my family, both of my parents were. My mom was actually, a horse trainer, and she competed against the guys, and she rode, she's one of the top in the country. And my dad, with his business success, growing a family farm from 1 cow to 9,000 was He's a pretty successful guy. So I had pressure, but for me pressure was never, and it still isn't something that scares me or holds me back. That's what I thrive on. If I don't have pressure, then I don't do as well. The more the better. So
Oh, I love it. So I have to ask then, did you guys train together?
We're actually training together right now. He's got his next senior world championships in 3 weeks in Santiago, Chile. And my season's kind of winding down, but I'm still training. I'm testing some stuff. I'm testing, some stuff on my boat, my skis, kind of getting ready for next year. And he's preparing for that. So, I'll hop in the boat and watch him, a couple times a week and help him out. And and vice versa. So it's pretty neat.
Oh, I love it. That's like family goals right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, now
Yep.
I have to ask you, you had a life-threatening head injury and it sidelined you from competition for like 8 months. Can you kind of take me through that?
Yeah, it actually was out of sport. It was not one of my most proud moments, but I won a big event and we were out partying and I was actually outside a bar and I got beat up. And it was definitely the first time I've been in a fight and hopefully the last because it's not my forte. So I was, I kind of woke up not knowing what happened and beat up pretty bad and actually flew home. Didn't know how serious it was. And then the next day I started freaking out. Like my head felt like it was going to explode. And I got my brain taken to the emergency room and my skull was fractured and then my brain was bleeding in 3 different spots. Like,
oh my goodness.
Called like subdural hematomas. And they're like, oh my God, you're lucky to be alive. It was right beside this major artery and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, it was insane. They didn't do surgery. They just kind of let it sit for a few hours and then the bleeding stopped. And, I was basically just laying in bed for 3 months. I wasn't even allowed to go outside in the heat. I wasn't allowed to get my heart rate up. I wasn't allowed to have caffeine. I wasn't allowed to read or watch. I was just basically to sit there in the dark for a long time. And, the hope of being able to compete again and all that was kind of the last on my mind. But as I got going and got feeling better and started to see things a little different, and about 5-6 months, I started working out a little and pushing it a bit. 7 months, I got back on the water and was stronger and lighter than I'd ever been. And I definitely work with some experts in sports psychology, and I got a performance coach to kind of help me, guide my career. And then next thing you know, 8 months after the injury, I had my first competition. I had a personal best, and the next one I won the biggest, event of the year, the U.S. Masters. And since then, it's been a steady ride upward all the way to last year, a world record and 2 world titles. And
wow,
it's been it was definitely a life-changing experience that you don't want to like ask for, but it
right.
I read this one book and it was, I forget the name, but it was kind of like the sum of it was just basically turn your obstacles into opportunities. And I never really thought of things that way. I just thought they were like bad when something bad happened or something went wrong. But since that moment, even big or small, I've said immediately, this is the moment I'm learning something, and this is for the best, and it's going to help me, and that's changed my life. So
in those months that you were kind of stuck in the dark, like you said, I mean, what got you through that? Did you have that mindset then, or like, how did you? I mean, I just can't even imagine as an athlete and somebody so active being so forced. Yeah, terrible. Like, how did you keep going?
I mean, maybe now there's more research and there's more guidance, but I just kind of, the doctors like go home and rest, and I'd read stuff online, and everything was basically just the way it was so counterintuitive for me, because with the brain, with the rest of your body, you exercise it and it gets stronger. You break it down, it gets stronger. With a brain injury, you push it, it gets weaker, and you actually have to just do nothing for it to get stronger. It's not like stress it. A healthy brain, you stress it and it gets stronger with rest, but not a brain injury. So you basically just have to sit there.
Well, like, what did you think about in those? I mean, because that's a lot of time to just sit there. Like, I can't even fathom where my brain would go.
It was so weird. But after a while, it actually just kind of felt okay, because I'd never done it in my life. I've always been so busy and worked so hard, and I started to kind of just look outside and pay attention to things and be more present and watch the clouds and listen to the sounds. And I started meditating, and I got a coach to kind of teach me some breathing exercises and guided meditations, and I started doing that every morning and created a little kind of breathing routine, and that made me feel better. I changed my diet. I stopped, sugar. I stopped with caffeine and alcohol, and I just definitely cleaned everything out, and I actually just started to feel better than normal, even though I wasn't doing stuff. So it was pretty neat.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's so wild. It is amazing how those things happen to you that you don't ask for and you don't want, but it can change you in a good way, right?
I wouldn't have gone there without, a slap in the head, basically.
Yeah.
But,
I get that.
And now it's like, how do we go to that place of disparity or need without having to have something traumatizing happen? How do we dig that deep into ourselves to be a better person without it? That's the challenge, because we can change. Like, I used to sleep in and feel tired till noon, and my whole body clock has changed, and I get up with the sun and I go to bed with the sun, and I feel the best before lunch. It's so weird, but it's totally changed.
That's cool. That's very cool to see how it has affected you that way. Now, you've been telling yourself since you were 10 years old that if you put in the work and stay on the path, you would be a world champion. I mean, you had master titles, Pan Am Games titles, other pro titles, but when you got second at Worlds in 2013, you said you had a brief moment of doubt. You just wondered if you'd been living a lie, if you were chasing something as if it was never going to happen.
Pretty terrible.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, that was like a nasty moment, because I felt like I could win when I was 18. I was like top 10 in the world. And then now I'm like, how old was I then? 29 years old. And I'm like sitting there so ready. I'd won all the events leading up. I even went down to the site. I jumped, and I went way farther than necessary to win the event. Top seed going into finals. And then the guy before me didn't even go. Like, he had a good jump, but not like that far. Like, 9 out of 10 jumps at that point would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically just completely blanked out and screwed every jump up. Oh. And it was like, I basically, like, I'd never had it in my life. I basically just kind of blanked out when I turned, and next thing you know, I was in the air, and like, I had no sense of what was even going on. And then it was over, and it was like literally over, and it's over for 2 years. And so I really started to wonder. I'm like, I couldn't have been more prepared. There's not, but what it's, as as an athlete, everything's mental, everything's in your brain, your body, everything else is prepared. And I even thought I was mentally prepared, but kind of the biggest moment, it was kind of the next year. I don't remember exactly what happened, but my biggest change was, instead of like competing against, my biggest competitor, which was Freddy Krueger at the time, and trying to win, it just became caring more about the things that I need to do to be my best. And if you can actually, whether you're tricking yourself or you're actually believing it, if you can want to have a, great performance more than a win, if you can truly want that best jump or that best run or whatever sport you do or whatever you're doing in business, if you can want that more than the result, and you can actually crave that more, and you can program yourself to work that way, that's the moment that it becomes, like I was saying with Jarrett, with ease, and it doesn't need this heroic, like, out of body experience to make it happen, because you're just kind of doing your thing, and you're that good at that point. So something changed. I kind of let go of, trying to win, and then, it doesn't make sense, but when you let go of trying to win, you start winning every time. So it's like,
wisdom right there.
It takes me so long to, like, to learn, but when I do, it's definitely built in. So
that's very cool. Now, when you finally did win that world title 2 years later, how did that make you feel? Like, was it everything you hoped for or not?
Yes, in a way, and then also not in a way, because so the one, I'm saying, I'm saying I'm not there to just win, but like, I wanted to be my best, which I was, but I also wanted to compete against the best. Part of me wanted to, like, and Freddie was injured that year in 2015, and he's still the number one competitor. He didn't make it. So I was kind of like, oh man, really? Like, in my brain, I was like, the other best guy would have a heroic performance, and I'd come out and I muster up the courage and do it, right? This is the dream in your head.
The best of the
but
best,
at the end of the
right?
day, I went out, I was prepared, I did my job, and I totally killed it, and I won on my first jump, which had 3 attempts, and, it was amazing. But part of me was like, oh no, I wish it was this, but after a few months, I'm like, I just won the world championships. But yeah, it was insane. When it finally hit me, it was like, I think that's when things really started to change, and I started to believe in myself, and I was like, wow, it's not, I haven't been lying to myself forever. I can actually do this. Because with anything that we do, before we've done it, we're telling ourselves it's possible with no proof of it being possible. Mm-hmm. So, you're like, are we lying to ourselves, or is it real? But when you do it, it's like, oh wow, I guess I can keep, imagining things and making them happen. So it's neat.
Well, I think it's so interesting to me because you had won so many things and you were already what so many athletes dream of being. You know, you'd won so many titles and second at Worlds. I mean, that's still amazing before you won the Worlds. But
in my brain just said,
it wasn't enough, right?
No, my brain said since I'm a little kid, I'm going to be a world champion. I'm going to have a world record. So it's all, you know, for me, it was all nice and fun, but that's what I was here to do. So
I guess it's kind of a fine line, right? Like you need to have those goals. You need to push yourself like, no, this is my goal. I'm going to keep going. But at the same time, it's so easy for us as athletes to get sucked into that mindset of like our importance and our identity is all wrapped up in our results of our performance. Like how do you separate those? Because it's important to have those goals, but yeah, you can't get just totally sucked into those all-consuming goals, right?
Yeah, I mean, we need performance. We don't need them, but like I like to have performance goals, right? Such as a score or a win or a result. But like the best way to stay sane and, you know, live a good life and feel successful on a daily basis is, for me, at least from my experience, is to have, you know, goals that are within our actual control. You know, goals such as, you know, dietary goals, lifestyle goals, the amount of sleep, you know, spend time with your family and friends, you know, the hours you put into your training, you know, your ability to not be emotionally or I guess like energetically set back when things don't go your way, right? Like if you can keep, if my goal can be to stay as motivated, you know, when things aren't going my way as when they are, you know, if you have goals like that, then at the end of the day, the results are all going to come pouring in. The challenge is when they start pouring in for me to not just get excited about them and forget what got me there. Right. And it's like, that's still my battle. Like last year was the best year of my life, on the water and, you know, and I'd say everything. And then this year I just go out, I'm like, oh, let's keep doing that. Let's keep winning. That was awesome. And then like, I forget halfway through the year. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, all the things that made me have a great year, I'm focused on the results again. It's like, really? But it's so hard, as you know, because that's like what everybody talks about. Everybody, you know, that's what people post on Facebook. That's what they talk about. The first thing they say, oh, you're the world champion. It's like, oh, you're not a person? Like, hello, I'm just a human shaking your hand. Like, deep down, it's like, we want the results, but like, I say we feel better when we just feel like a normal person and, you know, we live a normal life. So that's the challenge.
Right. It's the balance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you just mentioned it. You've got a world record. Now you have 2 world titles because you won last year as well. And you've got 4 Masters titles, 45 pro wins, and you're still going. Like, where do you see your career going from here? And how do you keep motivated?
Honestly, like that's the next step for me. That's what I'm sitting here right now, since I'm trying to figure out. You know, there's actually one more event left this year in 2.5 weeks. And the last month I've been kind of wondering, do I do it? Do I rest? The last 2 years I've taken the whole kind of winter off. But I'm like, you know, sometimes for me, you can't sit here and, you know, when you ask me that question, I can't just come up with the answer. Sometimes they just come. Like my motivation has just come to me in the past. You know, an opportunity's been presented that's kind of helped, you know, create it. Right now I'm sitting here and my wife and I are chatting. I was talking to my dad last night and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to figure out what is next. Because I'm afraid and I don't want to be the guy that's sucked into, like you said, these goals and results. You know, I'm at 45 pro wins. Let's go for 100. You know, last year actually I set a goal was to win all the events, right? Well, I lost the first event.
Oh man!
I'm like,
oh man!
I set this year goal to win all the events, like have an undefeated season. I win the first event, so I'm like, you know, maybe goals like that aren't what I need. You know, is that a sign? Do I set it next year and then be mad all year if I don't do it? No, like, so I need to figure it out, and you know, maybe it's something different. I don't know.
You know what I love about this is you are so accomplished and you've done all these things, but yet you're still figuring it out. Like that makes me feel more sane because I feel like I'm in the same boat. Yeah. So thank you for making me feel like a human.
Oh, yeah.
Now, of all these things, like what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want people to take away and like remember about you?
I mean, I want to be remembered for innovating in the sport. like as, with my, what I do as an athlete, but also, for the sport. And that's a step that I haven't, that for the sport haven't taken yet, but I've kind of started, which would mean evolving the kind of the rules and, the ramp and the boat and kind of working on that. And then, as a person, and part of the reason that I coach and do some other things is because I want to inspire people to be, to be their best and find what they love to do and commit to it. And so I guess whenever I, chat with someone, I want them to feel like, they know that I care about them and, want to help them figure it out.
I love it. I love your hashtag aspire to inspire. Like, I love your whole mantra. It resonates with me. It's very cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
On your website, you say that your mission is to kind of uncover your potential as an athlete and to inspire and give back to people along the way. And working with Homes of Hope in Mexico to build and donate homes, that's one of the ways you kind of stay true to that mission. How did you get involved in that? And like, what does that mean to you? Why do you keep doing it?
Yeah, I was actually my performance coach, so sort of my mental coach. He, who I started working with when I had my head injury, who's been a big part in helping me recover and come back and have a good life. He, for a few years was like, Ryan, you gotta give back. You gotta, he's kind of helping me figure out all the pieces of the puzzle. And he's like, you should give back. You should find a way to, donate to something. And he's like, you should, maybe give 10% of your winnings to something. And I'm like, I don't want to just give my money away. Like, it seems meaningless just to like donate money to something. Like, he's like, oh, here's this link you can send. I'm like, no, like, I just kind of got mad. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want something to have meaning. I want to kind of see it and feel it and like know that it's real. And I just kind of had this weird like thing about like just donations. It's like, I thought it was something people just do to feel better about themselves more than like for other people. So I was very hesitant. Then he introduced me to a friend of his, who's also a friend of my wife's, and then like a family friend of hers, this guy, David Bentel. He's also a skier, and he works with Homes of Hope in Mexico. He'd done like, I think 7 years in a row of these builds, and we had a call, and I kind of just told him, hey, I want to connect my performance to giving back to something. I want to be motivated to do well, not just for me to stand there and hold the medal, but for me to have more to go back and give to somebody. Because it's nice. You win an event, you go home, you got more, more money for your family. It feels cool, but it's like, my family's already doing okay. It's like, it'd be really nice to like, if I won and like, whether it's $100 or $1,000 or whatever it is, to like give to somebody who's like having trouble getting food and has no roof over their head. So he kind of told me what he did, and I told him what I want to do. And then by the end of the call, he's like, hey, why don't we work this out? Boom. I said, I'll give 10% of what I win this year. And I'll casually, kind of under the radar, offer it to people to match any portion of it. Because I wanted it to be this fine line of not where it's marketing, right? It's that Ryan's a good person because he's doing this. But like, so I just did one Facebook post, said, hey, I'm doing this, Homes of Hope, Mexico, we're going to build a house. I'm going to donate this. Hit me up if you want to match a portion of it. Super casual. And then I think at the end of the year, we had 10 or 15 people and donate some money. And then I think we had about $20,000. And I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And the house is, a lot less than that. And it was overwhelming without really any effort. So I was like, and then we went down and built a house, and it was way above and beyond my expectations, and I dropped all my weird like stigma of like money being hidden in some charities and all this weird stuff I had in my head for no reason. And I was like, this is unbelievable. It's the coolest thing I've ever done. And it blew my mind. And then the next year, which was last year, we built 2 homes, and this year we're going to, I don't know if I'm actually going to make it this year, but I'm supporting it just because my wife's she's pregnant, so I might just stay home with her. So, but yeah, it's going pretty cool.
That's fantastic. I love it. I love it. Yeah, when you get your hands like in it too, and you see it, kind of like you said, it's not just some weird thing, money hidden away. Like you actually see it and you see the results of it. Yeah, very cool.
It's a very special opportunity, and I'm I'll recommend it to anyone, and I think it's the best way to connect with, a family and even yourself, and, just kind of come down to reality, and it's pretty real.
Well, and I love that how you started it just by kind of a simple donation. Hey, if you want to join me. And it was kind of this ripple effect, and all these people got involved, and then you guys made such a big impact. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. That's life, right? And
then another group actually tied on. One of the girls that participated in the year with my build, she went and kind of did the same thing, started donating, got other people in, and then it's kind of so when we were down there was a whole second side going on, and
awesome.
It's pretty neat. So it definitely, like, it's something, it's a good way for things to kind of go viral.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
It's like, let's get everybody into doing something great. So, yeah.
Well, and you kind of mentioned you guys have some exciting news, and I love how you announced it on Instagram while you were holding a pineapple. When is baby Dodd due?
March next year.
Congratulations. That is so awesome. So awesome.
Thank you.
Now, because you're fantastic and we're so inspired and encouraged by you, where can we follow you online to kind of keep up with all your adventures and everything that you're doing?
Once I get better at running my website, it'll be on inspiredbyryan.com. It's brand new. And then on my Instagram at rdodd260. That's kind of, I'd say, where I, post the most often, and then Facebook. So, yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking time to just share your inspiring story with us, and we wish you the very best of luck. Thanks so much to Ryan for joining us today. What an incredible story. I can't imagine being stuck in the dark, not knowing how long or to what extent I would even recover. But he went through an incredible shift in mindset, from seeing obstacles to seeing opportunities, and that's what got him through. How would your situation change if you started seeing your obstacles as opportunities? We have so much to learn from our challenges if we can accept them. And Ryan, he's proof of that. Be sure to check out his website and social handles in our show notes. And don't forget to subscribe and drop us a review to help bring in more athletes with inspiring stories. Next week, we have Super Bowl champion Clint Gresham with us, and he's sharing about what it's like to win and lose one of the biggest sporting events in the world. It's powerful. You're not going to want to miss that one. I'm Laura Wilkinson. Thanks again for listening. This podcast is produced by Evo Terra and Simpler Media. For more information on Hope Sports and to access the complete archives, please visit hopesports.org.